Well, I need to welcome you back, and we're still with the big story for today. We're talking about governance and the people taking the back seat. Why most political players go at each other and how that seems to be affecting governance, and also bringing about the much-needed development in these states. And taking a cue from what seems to be happening in Rivers State, as much as we'll also look at that of Ondo, undermining we've had some bit of normalcy there as it concerns the issue of the acting governor and the governor that seems to be on leave on medical reasons. But anyway, as much as we're looking at all of that, we're still looking critically at where should the people lie, especially as it concerns all of these back and forth with political gladiators. But we'll see having me. I'm talking of no other person, but Comrade Ed Dewe Gedigbe helping out with the discussion. But what we'll do now is go on a break, get message from our sponsors, Benita Gas, and when we'll come back, more discussion centered on the big story for today.
Oh, yeah, follow the road, auto better quality. If you dey talk gas matter, oh, yeah, follow Beneta. Gas with the better quality, Beneta gas. Where they full rich man to Beneta gas. Every brother na sharply, Beneta gas. For Beneta gas, no mango, Beneta gas. Different type of gas cylinder, Beneta. I mean, I don't gas we go last you well, Beneta. Matter Beneta now do Beneta gas service in a them they run Beneta make you carry go
for gas matter and home delivery. Make you wire Beneta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Beneta gas plant, the tequile of gas matters.
Well, because it truly matters, and that's why we're talking about it, and we're talking about the issue of political crisis rocking some states and how that seems to be affecting governance. That naturally should be their primary priority at the moment, looking at the difficulties Nigeria seems to be facing. But anyway, we're faced with the major question of what seems to be happening in Rivers State with the yesterday's demolition of the State House of Assembly complex. And not only that, but also the governor presenting an 800 billion naira budget just to 5 members of the assembly that, funny enough, sat in a hall in the government house yesterday. While the drama is still unfolding and many are already titling it Fubara, the Fast and the Furious. But anyway, we'll not be furious about asking more questions and getting more reactions. Well, before I went on the break, you talked about how the people seem to be docile, especially in holding some of these leaders accountable and making them play to the gallery with their actions or inactions. But I want us to also look at another major one, and that's from the federal government's angle. Just yesterday, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, after briefing the outcome of the Federal Executive Council meeting that was held yesterday at the presidential villa in Abuja by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu chairing it, he said that the federal government has no hand in the Wike Fubara feud and would have nothing to do with it. And many are already questioning that style of governance and that style of approach from the federal government. Because is it not right now that the federal government should wade into this issue and call both warring factions to order before we have a total breakdown of law and order? Because why I ask also, if you look at the issue of the Ondo crisis, the president himself called both of them together, and that's why we had a measure of reasoning and normalcy in that very state. So should the federal government now not wade into this issue? Because it's becoming dangerous by the day. A State of Assembly complex that was pulled down just yesterday. Come on.
Yes. For me, it will not be right for the Minister of Information to posit that position that the federal government will not be, interested in what is happening there. What is happening there, if it goes unchecked, it is going to leave Nigeria with a devastating outcome. Don't forget that Rivers State, the element petrochemical, the refinery that is supposed to kickstart in December, is in Rivers State. Whooping some billions of naira have been expended in refurbishing that refinery. And this is where the federal government will be saying that they don't want to be interested in what happens there. For me, that statement should be withdrawn. It should be withdrawn. They should be interested to the extent that every other approach that can bring peace to that place, they should be interested. There's no point making a clear statement that you will not be interested in that. No. Because the president is the president and commander-in-chief of the entire country. So any part of the country that is having issues, there should be interest. Interest to the extent of resolving the issue for the peaceful living and peaceful and sustainable development of the place. So, to that extent, that statement is not right. Don't also forget that when this feud began,
yes,
President was quick to call the attention of those two parties and say, look, hey, guys, stop this. And the tempo calmed down. Sooner than later, hostility broke out again. And in all of this, the two gladiators are not telling us exactly what is the issue. Leaving the people of Rivers State to suffer, and by extension, the entire country. Because like I mentioned now, if the hostility continues this way, the resumption of that petrochemical refinery that is built to start operation in December may not be feasible.
Because many persons down here will say, what's our business?
It's our business because taxpayers' money has been expended on infrastructure, federal infrastructure in Rivers State. So it's not just the Rivers State people alone now. It is about Nigeria. That's why if you see me, as I've been talking, I told you about the role of the citizens of Rivers State and the role of citizens of this country. It is taxpayers' money that they use in putting those infrastructure in Rivers State, just as it is in other states where you have federal government presence. So you don't sit aloof and allow things to go out. Then at the end of the day, you start the blame game. No. It is better to prevent a bad happening than managing the aftermath of a bad situation. So proactive measures must be put in place, which is what has led to the final peace that has been struck on those states. Long before now, all of this position would have been taken. But some people who are called, conflict merchants, will not allow things to be. But when the sense of reasoning prevailed, and President called, he said, look, this is a constitutional issue.
Yes.
When the governor of a state is unable to perform his duty, that is why they have the joint ticket of the governor and the deputy. Let the deputy step in for the purpose of carrying out the business of states. Once that is not done, there's something is wrong. Then what is wrong, you address it. Identify what is wrong and you fix it. That's how governance works.
But you just raised the Ondo issue, and I rather want us to go there because yes, like we said, we've gotten a sense of normalcy there finally. Because we saw the Speaker of the House yesterday telling us that he has finally received a letter from Akeredolu indicating that he's transferring power over to the deputy Lucky Ayedatiwa. But yeah, you talked about the intrigues, the political drama, the crisis that played out in the last 8 months, all there. But the funny thing is, we got information the day before yesterday that the governor was flown out with an airbus because he could not even speak. He was almost on life support. Which brings me to ask, should it always be like that? That these persons of political class are hell-bent on sticking to power in life and in close to death, to the detriment of the people that they are serving. So does this make sense? Because if you look at other crimes, there's a level of how you need to be to justify you being there. But having this man float, they said he was unconscious. He could not even talk. Before he was even now, only God knows how he was able to transmit that power to the deputy. So should it always be like that with our political class? Sticking to power in life and close to death.
You see, that's why in my earlier statement I said the primitive mindset of our politicians should be interrogated going forward. We need to interrogate the primitive mindset that come with majority of our politicians, political class today. And not just the political class, even the citizens. It is primitive mindset that will give rise to that docility. If not, the world is a global village today. There is what is right. There is what is good. There is what is acceptable and there is what is not. So we should be able to situate these things when they come. So remember, we all pray for Governor Akeredolu to come out well and do his job because he was elected.
Yeah.
But in the interim, because that has not been, should not allow the state affairs to suffer. The state affairs in Ondo State have been suffering for over months.
8 months.
8
Since
months.
February.
Now, you handed over power at the point he was going to for the medical leave abroad. Sooner than later, those gladiators who will always want to, first themselves in systems.
On feuds.
Yes. Now, they came back, that the man is well and back. Since the man came back, he has not been able to do anything.
Yeah, he has been in Oyo, the Ibadan state capital.
So that tells you that.
In the Ibadan, the Oyo state capital.
I said in another platform yesterday that, dude, the managers of Akeredolu are not even helping him. They are his major enemy. I dare say it. Somebody that is battling health challenges, you now preoccupy him with state affairs.
You want to kill him?
When he should be concentrating on his recuperation from a supposed recovery that he came from abroad after spending over 3 months. You didn't allow him, you playing games day and night, you spilling out things that are not. Sometimes when those things, the mind of a man is a seat of wisdom. If a man's mind that is unstable because of the ailment, and you keep, bothering that mind with things, affairs of states,
he will never get well.
He will never get well. That's why the thing is taking a long time. Which was why I gave thumbs up to Mr. President for not just, sitting aloof there, by calling on the gladiators that, look, come, let this thing stop. Transfer power. Even if he's unable to sign that document, the State House of Assembly can have a sitting under doctrine of necessity that was done in the Yaraba era. This thing played out then. And I remember very well that the current governor that is ill now was very vociferous at that time, calling for the doctrine of necessity.
When he was the NBA chairman.
When he was the NBA president.
Yeah, president.
Then. Now it has happened to him. He cannot help the situation now. One of those who were there, who knew what this man stand for when he was up and doing, when the strength was there, when he was handling a very critical arm of, the NBA at a time. History will be kind to us if we follow all of these things ordinarily. But people who want to subvert the rule just to have themselves at the corridors of power. It's a very alarming situation that we must come at all levels. Now, I bring it back to the citizens of Ondo State.
Yeah.
They kept quiet for too long. Ondo have a lot of brains all over the world. Why will you allow some merchants, conflict merchants, who may be benefiting from, the unhealthy state of the governor of the state?
You also had a time when one of the commissioners said his signature was forged.
Yes. And I also said that, look, if you allege that the signature is forged, put up a petition to the IGP. Investigate this. And how do you prove a forged document? You bring the original, the one you claim to be the original, side by side, you will run forged. And forensic expert will determine whether one is forged or otherwise. Until that, it is a mere allegation. You don't use all of those ones to now impede on the speed of governance in a state. It is recklessness. It is left for the citizen of that state to so speak. You have many brains from there. Why do you allow some very garrulous characters to now begin to manage the affairs of state at the detriment of the people? The answer is no. The year is coming to an end. There is supposed to be a budget that will be presented to the State Assembly. No. All of that is not in the offing because some people believe that, if we allow the deputy governor to function, he may not consider us, we may not be having our benefit. So as a result of that, you deny the man his rights of being elected the deputy governor, who should stand in when the governor is not on seat. You now deny the man. No, all of those recklessness must stop.
But anyway, still talking about the issue, the World Bank yesterday said the number of poor people in Nigeria has hit 104. And they gave a very salient reasons for them coming to that very number. And they talked about the forest crisis as one major reason, and also the subsidy removal, and called on the federal government and state governors to do more to help bring more persons away from the poverty line into that of prosperity. But looking at all the crises that seem to emerge in the different states, we're only recently hearing that in Benue State, Reverend Father Alu is also crying that some persons, especially in his own political parties, are giving him a tough time in governance in Benue State. We also heard in almost every state, we've even heard in some states, because some persons did not vote the governor, they are being denied their privileges and rights, development or otherwise. So but how can we now bring these people to order? Because it's a question. Yes, we do know that you've said the citizen seems to be docile, but that's one word. The elections, well, many would say would have been a better way to pay them back for it, but funny enough, it's still been considered as contentious, irrespective of how it had played out at the end. So how do we now start bringing these persons to be accountable and not just to be playing to the gallery?
Yes. Now, that is why we're engaging in this conscientization of the minds of our citizens.
Yes.
You know, when people are ignorant, they will take everything for it.
For granted. For
granted, because they do not also know as much as they should know. That's one of the reasons, the contributing factor for the docility of citizens in this country. So many people simply do not know what they should know. Because if you know, for me, for instance, at the risk of sounding immodest, there are things I cannot take, not mind whoever is doing it. Whether you're a governor, whether you're a president, my rights as contained in that Constitution, chapter 4 of the Constitution, subsection 33 to 42, you can't take it away, no matter who you are. I know that. And how many citizens knows that? To the extent that they will be able to stand on their rights. That's the problem. So, I think also, if you permit me, I will use this medium to also appeal to your management. Create a sensitization program that runs continually, maybe once in a week, for people to be told what their right is, as contained in the Constitution, not what you think, what it is as of today. Because it is the Constitution, the rights, inherent in the Constitution, that brought about these people that are being elected here and there. So, that same rights, that same Constitution confers me right to dignity, right to freedom of expression, right to freedom of association. So why will you discriminate against me because I am not a member of your party? And you have been elected to oversee the affairs of state where I'm a member of the state. At that point, you have infringed on my rights for not giving me a fair hearing. But how many people knows this? So the gullibility, this brings about the gullibility of the citizens. They don't know as much as they need to know. Then another thing, creating this platform for people to even be enlightened is one. Are the people willing to be enlightened? That's another question. Because as a development practitioner, I believe that when people know better, they behave better.
Of course.
Because the Bible is clear. It said, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And politicians know. That is why they don't support programs that tend to enlighten the people. They will stifle the opportunity so that people remain, daft in terms of what they should know. I love one of those playlists that played out there when you talk about, the shatter, citizen shatter. When the people know what they should know, government cannot take them for a ride. So when you ask the question, what should we do? First is that citizens should clamor for knowledge. Knowledge about themselves, knowledge about their environment, knowledge about the states. These are things that will bring them out of their cocoons and they are able to deal with issues. They are able to confront people head on, objectively. Objectively, you engage your representative, you engage your governor, you engage your president. Objectively, ask those questions that you should ask. Only those who ask questions deserve answer.
Well, anyway, we need to answer on this and go on a break, though, because I'm already getting signs from my PD. We'll come back to that discussion because we'll always enjoy doing what we do on Quest Today enlighten you, educate you, and keep you really informed. And we always will do that. But let's go on the break, and when we come back, more on the big story for today.